Salve discipuli, this is Magistra Buddy. Welcome to my very first flipped classroom lecture of the year. This lecture is going to be about Quizlet. I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, are very familiar with Quizlet. I just want to make sure that we are all clear on how my entries look. Some things will look a little bit differently. Before I get started though, if you don't have one already, please hit pause and go grab a notebook. I will expect you to take notes as you follow along with my lectures and then answer a Google survey at the end, entering your top 3 questions that you want to make sure I cover the next day. I will take the time to read those surveys in the morning while I am preparing and thinking about my lecture. And there will be a grade attached to the survey. It's very quick, but you do need to do it. Okay, so I know that this says period 4 here. Period 3 is going to look exactly the same. So you go ahead and log on to Schoology and click on this link. It will take you to your class's Quizlet page, and this will automatically enroll you. You can see here that I already have several files uploaded for our first 2 weeks of review. This is every single vocab word that you have learned in stages 1 through 16 so far. Don't be intimidated by them. This one right here is every single word, 448 terms in stages 1 through 16. Again, you already know them. They just might look a little bit different this time. So I'm going to go ahead and click on stages 1 through 3 and just talk about some things that might be different. I'm going to start over here in the English column. So I will have the basic dictionary entry for the word, the translation that the book gives you in the back. And then there's going to be a semicolon here. And everything on the right side of the semicolon is extra information that probably wasn't included before in your flashcards. It'll include things like the part of speech, anything extra, the part of speech in which case here is a preposition, anything extra that you need to know, which for example, prepositions in Latin probably always take the accusative or the ablative, and this one takes the accusative. This is all information that you need to know. For verbs, there'll be a V here for verb, and the number right in front of it tells you which conjugation it is. So third, first, second, fourth, or if it's irregular, it'll just say IRR dot. Okay, so to drink is just a very basic definition of the verb, semicolon, third conjugation verb. Some words don't have a semicolon with other information. It's just because they're kind of odd words. They really don't easily fit into a category, or it's a category that we haven't learned yet, and it might just be too confusing to tell you what it is, but it's pretty rare. The vast majority of words will have a semicolon with more information. And is a conjunction. That's what this abbreviation is for. Nouns will have the gender followed by noun. So this is a neuter noun. Down here, door is a feminine noun. Down here, lion is a masculine noun. Adjectives will have either a 1-2 adjective, meaning they take endings from the first and second declension, or it'll say third adjective. This is an adverb right here. Again, we have another one with no semicolon and anything to the right. And I think that pretty much covers everything that could possibly show up. Yeah, so that's it for the English side. Let's scroll back to the top and what you're going to see on the Latin side. All right, so let's talk about verbs first. From here on out, there are going to be 3 entries for each verb. They cover the 3 principal parts. There's actually 4 principal parts for every dictionary entry of a verb, but we haven't learned the 4th principal part yet, so it's just going to be too much information at the moment. The first principal part is the first person singular present active indicative. So in this case, it's bibbo, I drink. The second principal part, or the second entry, is the infinitive, the present active infinitive. So bibera means to drink. Bibi is the third principal part. It's the perfect tense, first person singular perfect tense. So I drank. That's how they're all going to be from here on out. In the past, the Latin entry was just simply bibit, or circumspectat or clamat. But now you're much more advanced, you need more information, and this is how the entries look in the dictionary. Let's look at nouns. So for here, door, yan yua, yan yuai. The first entry is something that should be very familiar. It's the nominative singular. The second entry, though, is something we haven't seen yet. And I know in other instances I said that I wasn't going to include stuff you haven't seen, but this is something we're going to learn in the very first chapter we're doing together. Stage 17 is going to teach us about the genitive. So I'm just going to include it so that you're used to seeing it, but don't worry about it right now. The thing you need to pay attention to for our 2 weeks of review is this first entry so that you can tell me which word it is. Adjectives. Adjectives, at least 2 adjectives, will have 3 entries. First is masculine, second is feminine, the third entry is neuter. Third declension adjectives only have 2 entries. The first entry is masculine and feminine, the third entry is neuter, and there's no examples on this slide to show you. The rest of it I think is pretty straightforward. Oh, I need to talk about this right here. Okay, this may seem really confusing. This is because the preposition in Latin has multiple meanings, and it can take either the ablative or the accusative. So this really doesn't follow the rule that I just said that I was going to have, and it's because in plus the ablative simply shows position, so it means in or on. In plus the accusative is motion towards, so into or onto. So if you wanted to say that something is in the kitchen, it would be in kulina, in plus the ablative. But if you wanted to say that I am going into the kitchen, it would be in kulinam, in the accusative. I think that's probably it that you need to know for right now. Please take a moment to look over your questions. You can go back and watch the video again and try to answer them yourself, or you can just enter them into the Google Doc and give me some feedback on the helpfulness of this video, and I look forward to going over the questions and the material with you tomorrow.